Hello, and welcome to this episode of The Inner Estate with your host, Bridget Stuart, and our special guest, Sarah Newmarker. Sarah, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Bridget.
So, Sarah Newmarker, real estate agent for 15 years with Coldwell Banker in beautiful Marin County and Napa. You do live in both and serve both, right? So, that's just great markets to be in. And you have a growing family, which is really exciting with the newest edition debuting in April. We're going to talk today about something that men and women alike face as they have big careers. You are the owner and founder and agent of a multi-million dollar sales corporation, and you have this expanding family. Share with us a little bit of your passion and how you make all of that work.
Yes, this, of course, is something that so many of us deal with, right?
Yes.
And I've found really the sweet spot and the way that it works is the fact that I am very, very, very enthusiastic and committed and passionate about both my career and my motherhood. I'm so grateful for my career. I'm really grateful that I found it. And, obviously I can help other people, right? Change their lives, literally change their lives, get them
Right.
into homes, help them begin building wealth. It's really real estate is a miracle. Okay. And what it can
Yes.
do for folks. Very passionate about that. And of course, I'm very passionate about my motherhood, right? Of course, we're all passionate about raising our children, and it's the greatest joy for us. So I
Right.
would say the real sweet spot and what makes it work for me is that both are a labor of love. I'm
Mhm.
passionate in both. I really believe in both and what I'm doing and my commitment to both. And that's what prevents me from feeling torn, feeling that I'm missing always missing out on one facet of my life. And, it really keeps me going, keeps me motivated.
I think that's fantastic. And it sounds like from what you're describing that you have found this way of meshing the two together where they're not competing with each other,
Mm.
they're coexisting, and you're able to enjoy and be present in each. And it's almost as if they support each other.
Oh, it's so true. Oh, it's so true, Bridget. The way that I see it and the way I like to describe it is that motherhood really met me in my career. It didn't slow it down. My career didn't prevent my mothering to the degree that is important to me. They really were able to come together and, as you said, really mesh. And I did start my real estate career before I had children. I
Mhm.
did start having my babies later in life. And that really did help because, as I'm sure you know, those first years in real
Yes.
estate are the hardest, and that's when we work the hardest. I mean, we do work our
Yes.
tails off, every single day, like literally every day, but those are the most challenging times, the most unpredictable times. And
Yes.
so I was able to get through that, and it just worked out that way. I didn't plan it that way, but
Mhm.
that's how it worked out, and it really facilitated that wonderful way of shifting it and really combining the 2 with my motherhood and being in real estate. And yes, we do have flexible time, we can schedule some things to a degree around doctor's
Yes.
visits for our kids and things like that, but it is a career that you really, as you know, have to be all in. You are all in. It is not a part-time job.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the big hidden mysteries in plain sight in our society because from the outside, a lot of people, especially if you watch the TV shows, they're like, oh, I could do that. That's easy. Look, they barely do any work. And then you get into it and you're like, holy for holy, this is
Yeah.
not as portrayed on television, right?
No,
This is,
it's not that
it's hard.
glamorous when we're down on the floor scrubbing up the dog prints before an open house and things like
Right.
that.
Yes. It reminds me of Annette Bening in American Beauty
It's
when
so
she's
true.
preparing you. I
Yeah.
will sell this house today and every showing her doing everything.
Yeah.
So it is a blessing and it probably contributed to your continued passion and love for the art chosen industry is that you were established and then had children. Now,
Right.
one of the things that stood out for me, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that means you started in real estate around 2011. And
Mhm.
newsflash for anyone who doesn't know, that was pretty much in the middle of a recession. And California is one of the states, it was impacted significantly during the recession. I know different areas and parts of the country had different manifestations, but you were in an area that was hit. Now, it's interesting to me. So, when you came in, what did you come in from? What were you doing prior? And why did you make that decision during what is regarded as a very difficult time in our industry?
I know it's always really interesting to see where our colleagues came from, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's usually an interesting background. And mine, I have to say, is kind of interesting also. I was actually a classically trained ballerina.
Oh, wow.
And yes, and so I danced professionally for a couple of years. I lived in France, 1
Mhm.
year in the South, 1 year in Paris, and I did, dance professionally there. When I was in college, I in my undergrad, and I did a couple of graduate years, I actually was preparing to be an editor or a writer. So I had a
Okay.
double major with creative writing and English literature. So classically trained ballerina, and then also in terms of college training to be an editor. So I did move back to San Francisco and I
Okay.
became a junior editor at San Francisco Magazine and very quickly found that I love literature and I love to write, but it doesn't translate for me professionally in the way that I had thought it would. So, at the same time, my husband and I, we were just getting started. We were soon to be married and we felt encouraged to buy our first home.
Mhm.
And as you mentioned, that's a very scary time to buy your first home. Turned out to be the best financial decision we ever
Absolutely.
made. And it
Yes.
set us up for a lot of freedom that we had later to come. And one of those things that it ended up setting us up for in preparation was my real estate career because it's a wonderful education for us to buy and sell our own homes, right? Because we
Yes.
always then we remember where our clients are coming from. So it
That's
set
right.
me up for that firsthand knowledge of real estate and, it also set me up financially to be in a place where I would be all in when I went into this career because I realized right away the appreciation that we saw in our home within a couple of years of buying. And I was so passionate about sharing that with others because I was very close to not doing that, to not making the best financial decision I ever made in my life. And
Right.
how wonderful to be able to help other people make that correct decision.
So that's incredible. Now, when you made the transition from a career prior to real estate, the last career was writing
Yes.
okay, and then you went from being that writer to going into real estate. What did you bring with you from being that classically trained ballerina and a writer? What strengths did you pull from that background that has served you well in real estate?
I love your questions, Bridget. Oh my gosh. So I will say that I'm still a big supporter of the arts, especially
Mhm.
of ballet. And it is an amazing upbringing when it's within balance for
Yes.
children and into adolescents and young adults. It teaches so much discipline and ability to manage your emotions, right? I mean, you could be
Yes.
preparing for to go on stage and have just gotten a phone call with some bad news, but you really need to put the audience first because they're there to be entertained, to enjoy the beauty that you've been trained and you're passionate about portraying for them, right? So you
Yes.
really need to think about your audience and who you're really there for. And for me in real estate, it helps a lot. I might have the kids might be sick or something like that, but I
Right.
have this responsibility to my clients in a similar way that I had a responsibility to the audience. It's a bit of a fiduciary
Yes.
mindset, right?
Right.
So I'd say discipline and then also remembering that, you do have a responsibility to others. That was huge for me in ballet. And writing, I would say primarily it helps with the marketing. It
Yes.
really helps with writing out the marketing. A lot of folks use Chat GPT. I think it's okay if you feather it in a bit to smooth out the edges, but in terms of being really strategic about marketing and writing catchy things and whatnot, that's what the writing really helped me with.
Well, it's interesting when I think about your experience in ballet. One of the things that I think comes forth from that is you learn how to be part of an incredibly well-performing, high-performing team,
Hmm.
and you also learn the skills of being solo.
Yes.
And I feel like as an agent, chef's kiss, because so your mind is wired that sometimes you are moving as part of a team, and each person on that team has to do their moves at the right
Mhm.
time at the right place, and you would not step on their toes or knock them over, or so you have
Yeah.
that, and that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that shows up in your interactions with clients, colleagues, cooperating agents, that whether your conscious mind is aware of it or not, I would believe that that also has impacted you in your real estate career.
Oh, you're so right on. No, Bridget, that's absolutely it. And it's an interesting and unique dance, pun intended, right?
Yes.
When it comes to operating as a team and being able to operate solo. And that's something that also is an anomaly in our career, as so many
Mhm.
things are. But
Right.
being able to navigate that with collaborative and in transaction, collaborate and that type of thing, and work with other folks who work with me, my colleagues on the same deal, and then be able to be out in front of everything as well.
Right. Because there are times where it is to everyone's benefit that you are the solo
Mhm.
that's in control,
Yeah,
that is, driving the energy and where things are going.
right.
I know that everyone that's listening right now wants to ask, so I'm going to ask, are you still dancing in
Well,
any manner?
I'm currently 7 months pregnant,
Okay, well,
and
maybe not today, but when you're
yeah,
not 7
I
months
do
pregnant,
I do
no.
enjoy dancing. I do from time to time. I love taking classes. I'm very involved at San Francisco Ballet. I'm
Okay.
on the auxiliary, so we do fundraising, and so they do have some adult classes there. Adult classes are a little hard to come by, but yeah, I do enjoy that, and I have it has translated to a lot of athleticism for me. So I'm a huge trail runner. For
Mhm.
those who are familiar with Marin County, we have, in my opinion, the most beautiful trails up in the headlands overlooking the bay and the Golden Gate Bridge, and it's just really, really very spiritual to run on those trails. And so I would say that with ballet, yes, I am still taking some classes, and it's a bit of a challenge because I'm always thinking about where I used to be physically.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it also did teach me this lifelong love of movement, which is
Yes.
so important that I really am planning to instill upon my little ones as well. Right now, they're moving a lot, but in their own little ways.
Right. Well, that's remarkable. And so then you make this decision. You and your husband buy this house
Yeah.
at one of the best times in history to buy a home. So that was a really good decision. And now you're in this real estate career. You got through the churn. Everyone
Hmm.
knows our industry has the highest churn rate of any large industry in our country,
Yeah.
meaning, people don't make it through the first 18 months. They get in, they get out. So you made it through that and you developed skills and clients and market knowledge and expertise and decided having the family.
Hmm.
So, what else would you like to share for anyone out there that may not be feeling this synchronicity that you're experiencing? Let's say they're in overwhelm or they're feeling disconnected to either. Frankly,
Hmm.
unfortunately, sometimes the feeling of disconnect is with your family because you may have priorities or time constraints with whatever career you're in. So if someone is listening to us right now and they're like, "Oh, well, good for them. Look at them.
Yeah.
They're having a great life." If they're feeling overwhelmed, what would you share with them as possibly just a first small step they could take?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It sounds like a rosy picture, okay, coming
Mhm.
from me. And I can definitely understand there might be a feeling of, okay, well, la ti da.
Yeah,
High five. Awesome for you. You make it sound easy. And yeah, so excellent point. It's not easy. And this
it's
is
not.
the thing, we can have it all, but not at the same time. You cannot have it all at the same time. I cannot be taking care of my kids and be on a client call. I can't.
Right. Right.
It's just, it doesn't work. The kids get, neglected or frustrated because mommy's not giving them attention. And my clients aren't being served in the degree that they really should
Right.
be, right? So you cannot have it all at once. And I would say, don't try to have it all at once. That would be number one. You're not going to have it all at once. Don't try. Just don't even
Mhm.
try. Number two is get rid of the mommy guilt. Get rid of it and
Yes.
know when it's creeping in because it is very clever and it will creep in and it will catch you by surprise. And before you know it, you'll be in tears. Okay. So fight against that mommy guilt as much as you can. Justify and know and believe that when you're at work and you're not tucking your kids in, they're okay. They're
Yes.
fine. Yes, daddy puts them to bed differently and they don't care. They love it.
They love
Just
it.
because it's not your way doesn't mean it's wrong. So the kids are okay. When you're at work, they're fine. Okay. When you're with your children and your phone is on airplane mode, your clients are going to be okay. All right.
Yes, that's right.
You know, so Yes, there's urgent times. I mean, we've all had, emergencies where, my listing has a busted pipe and it's flooding, things like
Yeah.
that. Okay. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is day-to-day principles, of really knowing you can't be in both at the same time. You can't. And then also knowing do not let guilt rear its ugly head and mess you up, because it's just that's not going to help anything. And be okay with going to work. That's okay. You are
Yes.
still doing something for your children. You know, when we got pregnant with our 3-year-old is special needs. My husband and I decided, how are we going to do this, right? We decided it made sense for him to take a step back for about a year or two with
Mhm.
work, right? And so I have that support. You guys, you have to figure out where you're going to get your support, whether it's, a spouse staying at home and you're taking a financial cut, but you're okay. Family, I'm envious. I wish I had family. I have no family that lives nearby, and neither does he. Or if you're going to be spending the money, to get them some care, some child care, whatever works. Don't be afraid of that.
Yes. And
Because I know it's a
explore what's
little
out there.
long-winded, but I am passionate about that. Yeah.
Like, explore what's out there with an open mind.
Yes.
So, that's a beautiful story that you're sharing of you and your husband as a team looked at what you desired for the family and then figured out which
Mhm.
made sense and then
Yeah.
made that happen.
Right. And there's
Um,
no wrong
there's no wrong.
decision. Yeah,
Right.
really. The only wrong decision that you can make is when you're not making it for what's best for you. You're making it because it's what you think you should do. Maybe what others
Bingo.
are doing or what you've heard. Yeah. Yeah.
That is, you're exactly right. So release any should thinking.
Yes.
And also, other people don't get to judge. So there's not an Olympic panel of judges that after you decide what you're going to do for your family, that 7.4, oh,
Yeah.
10, you got a 10, oh, 3.1. No one's doing that.
And
So
if
don't
they
make your
are,
decision
yeah.
based on how
No.
you think some imaginary panel of judges is going to dig.
Yeah.
Oh, Sarah did it wrong. No, technical, it's not real.
No, and let's say that there are some folks on the sideline judging and this type of thing. Who cares?
Who cares?
One of my
Who
favorite
cares?
one of my favorite things about becoming a mom is I don't give a you know what anymore. I don't
Mhm.
if it
Right.
doesn't have to do with, my family, my career, my faith, with benefiting any of those things, it really doesn't matter
It
to me.
doesn't
It
matter.
does. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I think that's really phenomenal. And I wanted to mention one other thing, and this, in my opinion, is especially thinking about mom guilt and mothers, but
Mhm.
really it's for anyone that's a parent. When you're passionate about what you do, even if you're not passionate, let's say that you're in a situation where you have a great job and you're not necessarily passionate, but you do a great job
Mhm.
and you show up true to your own core values. So if you value loyalty, reliability, whatever it is that you
Mhm.
value, you show up in that manner. You are living every day a role model for those children and they are absorbing it. Let me do a disclaimer. I'm not a child psychologist or anything like that. However, they're absorbing it and they're absorbing work ethic. They're absorbing how you show up and carry yourself through the day. When you are working, you're actually impacting your children
Yes.
in a very positive manner.
Right.
And then if you make a choice, which made these changes prior to having the children, but a lot of people decide when they have children that they don't have passion for their career and they
Mhm.
are able to move to something else, that you're also showing your children how you can prioritize your own passions and satisfaction in life and you can make big changes that are scary and you
Yes.
can make it happen, right? So,
Right.
and by the way, let's say that you make the big change and fail. Great. You're showing your children. You can
Yeah.
take a risk, you can fail. You pick yourself up and you
Yeah.
figure out the path forward. So, quiet the inner voice that may, as you put it, is creating any guilt
Uh-huh.
feeling.
Yeah, yeah, oh, completely. I so agree. They are little sponges, aren't
Yes.
they? For better
Yeah.
or worse, they are little
Yes.
sponges. Um, one of the biggest, most touching things and the biggest indicator for me that I see in my kids when it comes to them watching us when we don't know is my littlest. He's 10 months. And when I see him watch his dad play with our 3-year-old, and he lights up and
Oh,
smiles with joy, right? That is that shows that he's feeding on those emotions, right? On that happiness. And just like he's going to see, if I'm walking out of the door and I'm just huffing and puffing and resenting where I'm going to work, I
Right.
mean, there's a good chance, or I don't want to like scare any parents, but there's a good chance that he could probably get ingrained with like work is a burden, work is bad,
That's
work
right.
is a hassle, and it doesn't need to be that way.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there you are right. They absorb everything.
They do. They
So
sure
it's
do. They're
they're
always watching.
yeah. And this is not something I made up. It is something I read in a book that I can't recall at the moment. But they're also their ability to tap into what we would call intuition is stronger, which is part of survival instinct.
Yes.
So they have some natural reflexes and some intuition that fades off as we age in toddlerdom and becoming a 6 years old. So they're absorbing.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So feed them great
Yeah.
vibes of
Yeah.
you in your passion and your work, or at least allowing your work to be a reflection of your values.
100%. And if there is conflict, as you said, or conflict or failure, quote unquote, that usually isn't actually failure at the end of the
Right.
day, model to them how to handle that. Because that's a
Yes.
great preparation for life.
Right.
That's so important to be able to bounce back and not settle in that, or not have those coping skills. Yeah, it's like I'm a little torn because I don't want to say these things and it be like, oh gosh, for parents, like it's another thing I have to worry about, right? It's not that type of thing. It's actually a positive, uplifting
I
thing.
agree. I agree. It allows you to be you and I have talked about being present for our children and our clients, but this is a way where you're allowing yourself and making it okay to be present in your own feelings in the moment and to have an openness, not sharing adult problems with children,
Yeah.
and yet allowing them to see that you're a human, not a robot,
Right,
and
right.
that you have a range of emotions,
Yes.
and sometimes you might be fill in the blank, disappointed, frustrated, confused, and
Yeah.
attempting to solve, so allow them to see that,
And
and
feelings are okay. We're gonna have
feelings are
feelings.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Shocker.
As much as we've been told, in general, it is true.
And there's a time and place, so tying this back to the career, you're exactly right in terms of the training you received in ballet where you were putting the audience first, so
Yeah.
knowing when emotions need to be between the lines is the phrase that I use, many use, to keep it. And it's showtime, so to speak, right? And knowing when it's okay and it's actually beneficial for those around you for them to be able to see and see that you're processing something.
Right, right. No,
Yeah.
it's true. It's about balance. And I would say the best way to achieve balance is just to go with your intuition instead of trying to, oh, I need to get balance. I need to get balance. Go with your intuition. It's going to guide you in the right direction with
Right.
balance, with where to prioritize your time and your energy.
And if you continually develop your self awareness, you're going to know when you're deluding yourself.
Yeah, and you're gonna know what doesn't fit for you and that what doesn't fit for you. It's like,
Yes.
this isn't a fit. I don't really, when I think about with real estate, I'm referral based, 100%
Mhm.
referral based. And there's some other, methods that they teach that aren't referral based,
Mhm.
and I've explored those. But just as an example of when something's a good fit or not, it's like I'm not going to spend my time and energy on something that's not a good fit, that type of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, yeah,
So, looking at this, you're 7 months pregnant, you are running your real estate business, you have 2 other children, married. So, I guess just everything's perfect every day and everything is smooth as silk.
I didn't know this was a comedy show.
So how do you handle date types of messes or frustration? Like when something comes up,
Yeah,
what do you
yeah.
do?
So, yes, so I would be lying, which I wouldn't, if I were to say that there aren't days where I am operating in survival mode.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, and survival mode, the thing is, when I'm in survival mode, I still get stuff done,
Yeah.
but it's not like I'm healthy, right, on the inside and that type of thing. In terms of dealing with things that come up, I would say just like, what's the most important thing to deal with at that moment? There's a saying that has helped me through so many hard times, and that is just do the next right thing.
Hmm.
Do the next right thing. Okay. So let's say, like, my youngest fell and got a bump. My clients, they are listing a pipe bust and it's flooded,
Hmm.
and I don't know, the lender went silent on a purchase, right? Three different
Right.
situations going on. What's the most important thing at that moment? If dad's available, he's going to take care of the kid. Okay. I'll be on my way to go check out the listing with the pipes bust while I'm trying to call my go-to lender to save the other deal. So
Right.
it's about, because we can get so overwhelmed, and this is me a lot, because I will not stop thinking. It's so hard for me to just calm my mind. So there can be a storm going on in our minds when we're feeling overwhelmed, and just thinking about what's the right thing to do right now? What's that one right thing that I can do? Really, really helps to clear out that mind clutter and address the situation. And honestly, usually when I have something like that happen, within 45 minutes to an hour, everything has calmed down, and so being able to just make sure that you're aware of the chaos and the stress and the drama, however you want to describe it, but that you're also just do one thing that's right, and then
Mhm.
keep going. And that's how you'll get out of that. That's what works for me.
And it sounds like you're chunking it down to a simple action step for each thing.
Hmm.
So you didn't do the whole, oh, the pipe, I'm calling the plumber, the neighbor, blah, blah, blah. Like, not, you
Yeah.
just went like, okay, I'm going to drive to the house. Yeah.
Right.
Right. All right. I'm going to call my lender. Right. So you chunked it down to a one step action item that will move things forward or will create clarity and a path.
Right. And then just also looking at it just instinctually, what's the most urgent thing? So, of course, it would be my kid, number one. Okay. He's
Right.
taken
So,
care of.
yes, if
Yeah.
dad wasn't around, you would take care of the child first, then the other two.
Or if it was work related, what of these three things, which client needs the most help urgently? That type of thing. And then going from there. But man, early in my career, I mean, to your point about we'd have like number one rate of, dropout rate, so to speak, in real estate. Early
Yes.
in my career, I was constantly overwhelmed. I had constantly was I couldn't see out. I felt like I was in a tunnel, and I didn't see the light at the end of it. You know,
Right.
a constant
And then if you saw a light, you were worried it was an oncoming train.
Right, right. Or hoping for one, just get me
Right,
end it,
yeah, like,
you
"Take me
know?
out."
But so it took a long time to really hone that skill, and, hopefully that might help if there's, newer agents watching. That really did help me a lot, is
Mhm.
just, and also the other thing is sometimes I'll have to tell myself, "What's the worst that could happen?" I mean, think about the worst case scenario, and that actually gets rid of a lot of your fear and your stress. Think about the worst thing, so then at least you know what it would be, you
Right.
know? Yeah, that helps too.
I find that to be very helpful
In
myself.
personal life too.
Yes. Yes. That is a tool that I use on a regular basis.
Yeah, yeah.
And I attempt to tell myself, the worst case in a somewhat neutral manner. So, like, removing any dramatic or emotional words and, like,
Mhm.
okay, that's what it would be. Would you survive that?
Yeah.
Would you know what to do? Yes. Okay, great. Keep going.
I've been through worse, and that's a great thing about getting older, right? It's like, I've been
Yeah.
through worse. It's great. Before I hadn't. Before that was the worst, now I'm like, "Eh,
Right.
it's been worse."
I have some news for you. That data bank continues to grow as you get older. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
right, okay,
as
good
you
to
go,
know.
and I love that. I do love that part of being human,
Yeah, yeah,
was that
and what
insight that you get, the older
yeah.
you get.
Well, and also, what makes you feel more human than being a parent,
Oh my
And
gosh.
that was one of the things that I noticed the most, was I had never felt more human. And I think especially for us women, because we do go through delivery and
Yes.
carrying the babies and everything.
Yes.
And yeah, it's a very humbling, in the best sense possible, process, and great lesson for sure.
It really is. And then it just has been, so you also, I also had my youngest later in
Uh-huh.
life, and it's interesting the difference when that happens as well. It gives
Mhm.
you just a different perspective. So my first son, I was in my 20s. My second one, I was 35. And it's interesting how that can have an impact too. So Sarah, I wanted to ask you, we're going to go from real estate and dance, and we're going to touch on the writing again. Are you currently outside of real estate? Like, are you doing any type of writing? Are you journaling? Are you any writing?
No.
Okay. Okay.
No, I'm not. I did when I first left, I did a little bit still write, but I don't. I yeah.
Do you think it's something that you may return to, or do you think that was a season in your life that's kind of complete?
I would say it was a season. But
Okay.
what I enjoyed the most about it was the love of reading that I
Yeah.
developed. And do you know what else it taught me was creativity, which is so important in real estate. I mean,
Yes.
creative problem solving, that's one of my
Yes.
favorite things. They're really it's not black and white. That's what I love
That's
about
right.
real estate. There is really no unless you just want it to be no. You can make a no into a yes regardless of what it is. You know,
Mhm.
you really can. So you just need to find creative ways of solving those problems, creative ways of helping your clients get to their goals. I love that. And that is one thing that writing really taught me was how to make something like a book out of nothing, just a blank piece of paper. You know?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So how to make a transaction, how to make their goals achieved, things like that to materialize, out of really nothing is so, so incredible. Yeah.
Well, how do you keep your mindset strong?
Yes. So I'm very strong in my faith. And that really helps me daily basis with readings and meditation and prayer.
Mhm.
That's something, yes, we have a church and I have, my groups and things like that. But the most important thing for me is it's really, really personal.
Yes.
It's a personal connection. And my faith is something that I can run to and do often
Mhm.
when I need help, I know that there's a place where I'm understood, where I'm loved. I don't have to be good to be loved. And it's really, really amazing in terms of motherhood. Really
Yes.
gets you through. Just keep your eye on that horizon because there's all these waves, right? There's all these waves going on, but just look at that horizon. That's what matters picture. So it really helps me from sinking into the moment and being able to really rise above that in a good way. And it really helps with work, with my faith. I find that because I feel like I am coming from a place of wanting to help
Right.
others and, wanting to do good for others. We're not always perfect, but that does translate also to work where I tend to look more now that I'm more deep in my faith. I tend to look more at what their goals are than just it being a transaction. So, for example, I have a listing right now. It's at about 2.5 million. It's a beautiful, beautiful 17-acre estate in Napa, right? And yes, I love the home. Yes, I'm going to sell it and, they're going to make a lot of money. But where my mind is at is why they're selling. Okay. They're selling because they've worked really hard their whole lives. They bought a cute little villa, little home
Mhm.
in
Right.
Tuscany, and they're going to retire there.
That's
And
amazing.
that is their passion, right? So for me, it keeps my eye on the goal. If that makes sense. It really, really does on the bigger picture versus, okay, let's move on to the next transaction. Similar also is I don't look at a transaction like a transaction. I look at it as an opportunity to get referrals, to be honest, as
Right.
well from a business minded perspective. Okay. So
Yes.
there's that as well. And I look at it like that in the best way possible. So I'm not looking at the paycheck I'm going to make from helping my clients buy their first home and welcome their little boy into, right? I'm looking at the fact that this could help me help other people who are in their circle. So it instead of just looking down at the ground, really remembering to look up because that's where the opportunities are. And it also keeps you for me, it keeps me more uplifted. And
Yes.
you know how being realtors, people don't want to work with a sad realtor. you know,
No.
it's not fun. I can't imagine
Eeyore
it.
would not have made it in real estate.
No, no. Right.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
it is one of the most stressful things in modern life in our society when you purchase a home, sell a home, and move.
Yeah.
Right? So you
Yeah.
want your realtor to be strong, confident, a calming influence.
Yes.
That's going to allow
Grounded.
you as the person that's doing it. If you're having an emotional roller coaster, you don't want your agent doing it at the same time or being Debbie Downer.
It's so true. You probably have as well, clients crying on my shoulder, not because
Yeah,
of anything related to real estate. It's because
that's right.
that most of our transactions are going to be life change initiated
Yes.
home sales, right? So welcoming a new baby into the world. Okay, let me tell you firsthand, hormones, hello, when you're
Yeah,
pregnant, okay?
that's right.
So that's a big life change. That there's divorces, there's
Uh-huh.
marriages, there's death, right?
Uh-huh.
There's being transferred from your hometown to your dream job.
Right.
So, yes, I've had clients cry on my shoulder, and I can't be right there with them.
That's right. Yeah, that's not gonna benefit. That's, and sometimes the dream job is not in a dream location, so
Most
you can
times.
be yeah,
Yeah.
you can be excited about the career and the opportunity for yourself and your family,
Yeah.
but you're moving to some place that maybe you never even considered in any manner
Right.
whatsoever. Yeah, so,
Not so attractive, and that's usually why the pay scale goes up so high when you
that's
make that.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna move you to Elephant's Breath in I won't even say a state because I like all the
Yeah.
states, but you're like, "Elephant's Breath Town, how many years will I have to be there, and how much will you pay me?" "Well, 4 years and we'll jack up your salary." Yeah, so but
It's so true. It's like, I'll get calls from other agents like, "Oh, would your client who just closed on their house, got a great deal, would they be willing to sell?" And of course, it's always like, "Well, what's the price? What's
yeah,
the
that's
price?" Like
right.
that's I can't even it's like the same with the job analogy. It's like,
Yeah.
"Well, it's a make me move price or
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, this is just, it's so intriguing when you think about how your faith and your mindset and that knowing that part of your job in real estate and part of our job as a parent is to be the one that's an even keel
Yeah.
that people can come to. It's funny. So that shows up in both of your big passions.
It does. It does. And I think that that's why relationships outside of just motherhood and just work are so important. I think about with my husband, right? Um, as much as I take care of everything else in the world, I kind of just want to be taken care of, right?
That's right.
That type of thing. And with my girlfriends, right? Like we just want to laugh and be silly and act like kids. So it is really important to be able to have that. Easy it is to forget that we need those things, but when we do
Right.
them, they just feel so good and we know that we really needed that. Yeah.
Do you wanna
Yeah.
hear something funny? At least I think
Yeah.
it's funny.
Yeah.
So I've now been in real estate 27 years, and I'm full on an addict, to real estate. I just love it and love all the aspects of it, and I love people. But when I'm talking to so I have long-standing friends and colleagues they're all real estate related. So when I'm talking to them about someone else, and I actually caught myself doing that this week, I went, "Oh, yeah, he's one of my regular life friends."
Right, right.
Yeah.
He's
You
one of
don't
those
know him. He doesn't
normal
have anything to do with
people.
real estate, lives in
Yeah.
New York. He's a regular life friend. I just cracked myself up. I'm like, as if as if my real estate friendships, like, aren't real or they're not
Yeah.
regular people, but it is
Yeah.
funny, and it's important that you
Oh,
don't get pigeonholed in only one or the other.
yeah, yeah, no, it is important, and it's so easy, it's like, I love my mommy friends, but
Yes.
I can't just be good friends with someone because we're moms, like, there needs to be more than just that,
Right.
and it's the same in real estate. If it's a really good friend I have tons of colleagues who I adore, of course,
Mhm.
excellent relationships with, but it can't just be real estate, like, the
That's
friends
right.
I have you know what I mean? It needs to be a little deeper, a little more than that, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So you are probably not going to write again. And I am just turned in my first draft of a chapter. I'm going to be in a book being published. It's a
Oh,
collaborative book.
wow.
But I like that you're able to have the clarity to say what you said of that was probably a season and I may not go back to it. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And because you can let go of that guilt too. If you ever struggle with like, oh, I used to do this and now I don't, whatever, that's okay. That can be a season that is over. And you may discover something else.
Right.
And when you turn 64, you may be like, you know what, it's time. And you may start writing fiction. We don't
Yeah.
know. It sounds like you're open to any and all and that you're
Yeah.
comfortable and confident in the choices you've made regarding your passions.
I am, at the time, now I have that clarity that you described so perfectly. At the time, it was a mess. I felt
Mhm.
emotionally a wreck. Here's this career that for all 6 years that I was studying in undergrad and then in grad school, this was what I was going to do. It was a part of my identity,
Right.
and to reconcile the fact that I love reading. I love literature. Probably would have been good on the professor route, but I'm glad that I went into real estate, but that it wasn't a fit, right? And once
Yes.
I saw the writing on the wall, I wasn't happy. That's how I knew I wasn't right fit. I was performing fine at work. I wasn't happy.
Right.
And to reconcile that, because I am quite stubborn, was a huge challenge. And what was wonderful was once I reconciled that, real estate kind of fell in my lap,
Mhm.
you know? And I'm so glad that I was able to sort through that. But, I think not only those 6 years of build up, right, to this is your career, this is going to be great. But of course, there's the young person kind of adolescent mindset of not having experienced a lot of
Right.
letdown, a lot of surprises in life and things like that. And it did teach me to really follow that path that's laid before you. Yes, we need to have goals. I'm huge into goals. One of the reasons I love goals is that when I do like my 6 month goal, my 1 year goal, I always get to my 1 year goal within 6 months. And I don't
Right.
even realize it until I pull out that sheet and I'm like, hey,
Hey,
right?
look where I am. Yeah.
Yeah. So big believer in goals. And also we want to balance that with like when there's a path laid out before us and it's just right, even if it's not what we had in our minds it was going to be, that's the path to take. That's the right way to go. And that takes a lot of surrender of self-will, which I have a ton of.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like a daily practice. Yeah.
Well, that I wanted to highlight that again because if anyone is still listening on the podcast, then if they're in a career that is no longer the right fit, regardless of the years of education or the years in the industry or, whatever should is attached to it, if it's not satisfying your soul and
Hmm.
you're not feeling passionate about it, reach out and there are career counselors, there's coaches, so don't feel you have to make the decision alone,
Hmm.
or really examine it and look at, if I didn't have these shoulds attached, what would I do? And then
Yeah.
see if you can make that change in your life. You're an example of that. I'm an
Yeah.
example of that. I had a great job in corporate America. People thought I was nuts, but I had wanted to be a realtor since I was 8 years old playing realtor and
Oh,
annoying my
yeah.
siblings and parents, because I kept wanting to show them the house with my little fake briefcase. Right, our house we lived in, I kept wanting to take them around, so
That's great.
they thought I was nuts to leave AT&T, commercial markets.
Yeah.
But however, it's been my longest lasting relationship outside my immediate family, so must have
Yeah.
done something right. Don't
Right.
be afraid, and if you're not satisfied, see what else you can do. Please
Yeah.
explore it. You're proof you can do that. Our industry, I'm sure as soon as I say this, a couple people are gonna pop to mind. Believe it or not, there's a lot of attorneys that leave practicing law and become real estate agents, and usually they do really well because the skill sets and the language and the contract, it's such a
Yeah.
natural segue. But every time, whenever I find someone with that history, I always ask them, "All right, who gave you a hard time?" And they almost always say, "Everyone." Friends and family are like, "What are you doing? You had the education, you went to the school, the
Yeah.
investment, the
Yes.
whatever you."
Yeah.
And then I'll also ask, "And how much regret have you had?" And across
Mhm.
the board, it has been 0,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I just interact with agents that are doing well so they don't have regret, but I don't think so. I think that's a natural fit. And talk about a sense of obligation or feeling as if they have to stay in, you
Yeah.
don't have to. There's no have
No.
tos here.
Life's too short. Life's too short to just stand on these principles that you've created for yourself of like, well, for example, no, I've been an attorney for 20 years. Interesting, by the way, that you mentioned that. My dad was an attorney for 20
Mhm.
years and then he became a broker and he
Oh,
loved
it's
it.
so funny. Oh my
Yeah.
god, and I
Yeah.
had no
I know,
idea. I
right?
had no idea
Yeah.
of that.
He
Yeah.
became a land broker. So we went from like, totally, different down to earth industry. So
Right.
but yet life is too short to just stand on your own self-created principles of like, I've had this career, it's stable, for 20 years, it keeps food on the table, et cetera, et cetera. Or for me, it was, I went to school, to grad school for this career that I had thought that was going to be my career forever. And it wasn't, life's too short to just make your decisions based on that. And I think a lot of the concern about making that decision comes from a place of fear. And
Yes.
this is something that I tell my clients actually very, very often, especially let's say we're in a multiple offer situation, right? And we're deciding, how far they're comfortable going up. And
Right.
and the thing is that I really believe in this, and I say it often because it's true, is I've never seen a good decision made when it was made from a place of fear or stress and pressure.
Hmm.
Never. It might be an okay decision, but it's not the best decision, right? And
Right.
so that's how I feel about a lot of things in life, and it can go into like with money,
Right.
with where we spend our time with our family, with our relationships. But yeah, I would say being really, really careful about basing your decisions on fear and on pressure, which kind of go together.
I agree.
Yeah.
And you're right. It could be okay, but not great. An
Yeah.
example was in 2021 and 2022 when a lot of people just did whatever they had to do to get whatever house they could get, and the
Mhm.
house doesn't fit them,
Right.
and it doesn't fit their life now, and yet they feel handcuffed by their interest rate and they
Yes.
stay. And that can eat away at your soul. It can destroy relationship. Like, so
Yeah.
that was the first thought that popped in my mind when you mentioned that. And it's so true.
So
And
true.
so
Yeah.
that happens either with your house or your relationship with money or your relationship
Mhm.
with family or your relationship with your chosen career. So just
Yeah.
life is too short. Reflect on all of it. If the passion and drive isn't there, that you're reaching out to me saying, "Hey, can I be on your podcast like that lady Sarah? Because I'm so passionate about X, Y, and Z," right? Let's make 2026 the year when you really look at it. Have brass tacks conversations with yourself and
Yeah.
just really look at it.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. I agree. And also, Bridget, to touch on when you mentioned, 2022, for us it started around like 2019, 2018, and progressed. Multiple offers. I mean, everything. It was
Correct.
especially in Mill Valley, which is where my office
Correct.
is based.
Yeah,
10
you
minutes
were a hot sellers market prior to the
we were.
pandemic. Yeah.
We really, really were. And I was still kind of cutting my teeth at that point. I was getting more into the luxury side. Point is that when we were really at that quote unquote peak of the market, and it was very, very competitive, and buyers needed to know what agent was going to help them win the house.
Yes. Yeah. Who's the one that'll
Yes.
get the
Now,
offer
this is
accepted?
the thing. I helped my clients win the house.
Right.
But I also told them when to pull back a little bit and when
Yes.
they might need a little bit of a push. For example, something that is so important, it's helped so many of my clients, is understanding that every home is going to be worth something different to every different person, right? So every home is going to be worth something different to each buyer.
Yes.
And a multiple offer situation and for $1 million house. And it looks like the other offers around 1.5 and my clients can only really afford 1.4. They could maybe go up to 1.5 if they got a loan from their parents or whatever it is. It's like, okay, well, just because you can, should you? Is
Right.
this home worth 1.5 to you? Is it really worth that? Or is it just that you are scared of losing another home?
Right.
Because another one's going to come on the market. These
That's right.
people, they're all cash. They're made of money. Their parents are buying it for them, whatever the situation is. This home to them is worth 1.5, even though when we look at the data, it's worth no more than like 1.25, right?
Right, right.
So
Yes.
it's okay if the home is worth less to you. That's okay. That's when we want to walk away and stand our
Right.
ground. So I think that helped people from overspending during that kind of frenzy.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this has been a remarkable conversation. I want to thank you for being our guest, Sarah. And if you want to reach out to Sarah Newmarker, all of her contact information is in the description of wherever you're consuming this podcast, as well as on my website. Sarah, thank you so much for being our guest. I
Thank
would
you, Bridget.
love to welcome you back again after the new addition to the family arrives. So maybe
Yeah,
we could talk again, maybe before next Christmas.
I would love that.
So, yeah, I think there'd be a lot to pick up in this conversation and move it forward and discuss having this new addition in your family. And if you're listening to this episode of The Inner Estate, I hope you'll come back as well and join me on the next episode. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.